going to call the Ascension Parish Utility Committee meeting to order Tuesday, August 11th. I ask all members are present except Councilman Dempsey Lambert. I ask Councilman Shakespeare to lead us in prayer following the pledge.
Dear Lord, we want to thank you for all the benefits you have given us of living in Ascension Parish, the great people that are here, and all the assets that we have. We want to please allow us to make good decisions for the people of the parish to move forward and continue to improve the parish. And we also like to take a little time to recognize the passing of Mr. Landry and Donaldsonville, former Donaldsonville Fire Chief, Mr. Kirk Landry, for all the things that he's done for this parish. We ask all this in your name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I would also like to recognize Chief Administrator Mr. Secretary Grant, Parish President Mr. Tommy Martinez. Anybody wishing to speak on anything on the agenda, please sign in with the Secretary and you have 3 minutes to speak. Agenda item number 4, Lake Pontchartrain Restoration Grant, Mrs. Martha Collins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Here tonight as just an information for you. We are wanting to apply for the 2009 Lake Pontchartrain Restoration Program. This is something that we applied for in the past. We just wanted to come to the Utilities Committee and ask, the deadline is August the 18th. So we'd like to go ahead and let you know we're going to reapply either for Bayou Narcisse or another one that's in line.
Do you need a resolution
I
of
need a
support?
resolution
I'd like to
authorizing the
offer a
parish
motion of a
president.
resolution of support to apply for this grant.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Shake Snyder, second by Councilman Benny Johnson to apply for the Lake Pontchartrain grant. Any oppositions to the motion?
How much is it total?
The funds have been cut a good bit. I think we have between the parishes and municipalities, it'll be $1 million, and that's divided up from each one that applies.
Okay.
But we'll bring that back to you. I think the notification will be in September of who's been awarded, and we can bring that back to the Utilities Committee for
Thank you very much.
Thank you. No
Thank you.
opposition to the motion. Motion passes. Agenda item number 5, some residents from the Guidemo area were asked to be put on the agenda. They had some concern about power line that's being ran in the area off of Highway 73. What's happening, they're being sandwiched between 2 power lines, one behind the house and one in front of the house, and all they want us to do is send a resolution support of the residents to the PSC, the Public Service Commission, asking them to look at this, and also want to send a letter to Energy asking them to reconsider.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second.
Parish President.
I had the opportunity today to ride down there, and they're already putting the poles down. So I don't know. I mean, I think I'm looking at it too. It's a situation where they kind of surrounded by wires now and poles, and it makes it tough. Some of those residents along there, especially about 5 or 6 of them. You know, they got power lines in the front and power lines in the back.
Some of them have 3, 4 poles in their front yard.
That's it. So anyway, but I noticed that project already started. Of course, we don't have any jurisdiction, but you know, the Public Service Commission has it, and I think they've had some meetings. But I see where Energy started today. So this week.
Been there for a couple weeks. I hadn't been out there to see if they started pulling wire yet. Councilman Shakespeare.
Mr. President, I know we've had that same problem in Burnside area when they came through there, and they were without there was no informing of the local government or anything. Is there anything, can you investigate to see whether there's any permitting process that we can go through locally that we can have some feedback?
Well, once we commit that utility district over here on the east side, they would have to come to us before they start doing any work in
Okay.
any
Well,
servitude.
And I just like to make sure that they go through a permitting process where we do have public hearings where people can be involved and we'll know ahead of time, because I know I was in the same situation, and once they get to that point, they don't even listen, so.
At this point, it's on a state highway jurisdiction with the PSC Commission until we, as Mr. Thompson said, till we create that utilities district, and they don't have to come to us to anything, but they did notify Mr. Thompson in his area, and they did know that Energy did come by and notify my office, so I will tell you that. But again, it's just not a pretty sight out there.
Mr. Johnson.
As you stated, Mr. President, I don't think we have any authority in it, but and from what I'm understanding, I was over there the other day. I didn't look at that situation that close. I wasn't aware of it, but there's multiple poles for different power lines coming through there. Is there any way they might be able to consolidate some of that on one set of poles, or is that what they're doing?
I asked that question, and they said that generally Cox will be able to put it on their same poles and maybe eliminate one pole, yes, in some instances.
I mean,
and
it's not,
basically what they did say they would do, they'd put it on the property lines rather than in front of people's houses, and try to work with them in that regards. But, you know, that's about as far as I got with it.
yeah, I mean, anything we can do along those lines, at least to help some of the aesthetics of it, to where they don't have 4 or 5 different poles in the front yard for different lines. If they could consolidate it, that would be at least a little bit better.
Well, I spoke to Mr. Herron about it and asked him could he see that they just move everything to one pole, but I can't see why they cannot. They would have a problem with putting it on the other side, other than cost. But it looks bad, and the residents are pretty upset about it. Any opposition to the motion? Motion passes. Ms. Secretary, you got it? No opposition to the motion. Motion passes. Move on to agenda item 6, a resolution to borrow the amount not to exceed $1 million. That's ACUD 1 Consolidated Utility District. Mr. Grant?
Sir, we invited the bond counsel for ACUD1 here this evening to give explanation to this request. As I best understand it, they are planning to borrow $1 million to do improvements to their water service on the West Bank. And unlike the past, where previous borrowings were either in conjunction with the parish and there was some borrowing that they did from us to pay some of this back, this is not intended to be anything but completely with their revenue, against their revenue, and they're not asking for any parish subsidy. But it does open the question of the obligations of the parish. As I can best appreciate this, if they were to default, the obligations would fall to the parish, and therefore we felt the need for the bond counsel to come and explain that to the Utilities Committee and subsequently to the full council as to what obligations they would be expecting us to undertake in this borrowing. So that's the extent of the details I have available to me, and as I said, we invited the bond counsel here to provide a detailed explanation to the Utilities Committee, because it does appear to be an obligation that would have some fallback position on the parish.
Do we have anybody here from legal? I'm thinking that right now, if ACUD won't have any problem, the parish is responsible for it anyway.
That's correct.
So I don't think it make much difference. We would, and if they forfeit, we would be responsible to the water company, wouldn't we? from
Well, I
that
mean,
point?
depends on, and again, we don't have the full details of the borrowing. I don't know if the obligation is anything other than that of CUD ones. I mean, I don't think it's the private utility on the West Bank or anyone else other than what they intend to do for capital improvements and, you know, how they serve their own
No
needs.
question.
About how long?
Said 10 after 6.
It's 25 minutes. We'll get ready up there.
Don't wanna have a recess till then?
Councilman Shakedown?
Well, I just, Cedric, are you up to date on the finances of ACUD and everything in there?
As the last statements I saw, they were certainly solvent and certainly presenting a better financial picture than they have over the last few years. So, I mean, but I have no reason to know what the debt service obligations of this are. I mean, they haven't presented those to us.
Yeah.
How they plan to pay back this money.
I would like to have, I think it ought to warrant a meeting with he and yourself to bring the parish up to date in the status.
I'll be on his way. Recess till 10 after and come back in. I don't think, Road and Bridge is scheduled till 7 o'clock.
That's what you want to do.
Mr. Lynn Chance had something to say. If you don't mind.
We worked with Mr. Osborne in preparing the financial statement. The district, with its combined revenues and tax receipts, have adequate funds to cover this debt. As you know, we worked with Mr. Osborne on what the payback on this. This actually is going to be the funding is going to come from the state's drinking water state revolving loan fund, and so it's through DHH is where the loan's coming from, and there's also a certain percentage of this loan that would be forgiven up to 30% or $1 million max that would be forgiven on this particular loan. And the interest rate is I can't remember what the exact interest rate, but it's significantly below the bonds that the district had already issued. I mean, you know, like I say, I can't give you all the details because I don't have those that Mr. Osborne would, but the financial statement that was done did show that the district is solvent and can cover this debt.
We do what we got to do.
I'd like to ask that somebody make a motion for us to
I'll make a
recess.
motion to recess.
Motion by Councilman Cullen, second by Councilman Benny Johnson, to recess till 10 after 6. Well, we just move on to item 7 and come back to,
We got some things we can discuss on the new business.
okay. Item 7, new business.
Yes, we had some good news. Last week on a couple occasions, we had the opportunity to meet with Secretary Leggett of DQ, and basically, when the first meeting went well, and you know, he said that we could probably, out of the monies that they were going to be loaning, they had about $30 million pool, $140 million pool, and they had about $800 million worth of requests. But he thought that Ascension Parish would be eligible for probably around $12 million. Well, that was good news, and I think we're going to put up about $5 million of recovery money to work with. But I had another meeting with him a week later, and he said he had some better news that we would probably get from 18 to 19 million dollars. So with that and the 5 million, that means we'll be about 24 million. So we can actually really get started in the sewer business. So, and that's coupled with some money that we may be getting with the Corps. So I'll kind of maybe turn it over to Cedric on that, but that's all good news.
Based on the commitments that we are looking at from DEQ, the proposal that we have in our community development plan to put $5 million in sewer improvements in about a $1 million federal appropriation, we believe we will be able to construct the regional sewer plant that we proposed on the BASF property, the affluent force main to the river, and make the connections between the Hillaryville and Astroland project, which will put us, as the president said, firmly in the sewer business and seriously get after this problem that we've been having on the East Bank of Ascension. We will know probably within 2 weeks' time from DEQ if they're able to, they feel very comfortable at this point in saying that we will be able to do about 18, 19 million, which was fairly remarkable considering the amount of applications they had. But they did understand the severity of the problem in Ascension Parish and said that we are a very high priority for them. Interestingly enough, subsequent to the meetings that the president had with the secretary, I got the staff that showed up, with the regulatory staff that showed up to tell us how bad the problem was. And basically that, based on the reports that they were now prepared to release about the status of the basins, coupled with our request, it raised us in priority because we had shown activism in getting after this problem. They have many parishes that have as severe a problem as Ascension, but haven't done nearly the groundwork and the legwork for this program. So we believe that we will have a completed design and ready for construction of the sewer plant in the first quarter of 2010 in that affluent force main, and basically be able to go to construction now, thanks to this award, in 2010. So we will be able to begin work on this program next year.
Mr. Grant, I would like to see us take in a lot of those businesses on Highway 30 to 73 to help with some of the revenues, tie that sewer, tie them to our
We'll
sewer.
stretch it as far as we can go, but you know, we began now the process, okay, of making an arrangement with the state for using right of way along State Highway, as you said, 30 and 73. We've got some serious right of way issues as we go through this program, but now that what we've been waiting for here is a commitment. We didn't want to jump out there and do a lot of the legwork that we need to do without some serious funding. And although our request was originally 48 million, we did a whole lot of cost cutting and resizing this project to get it down to what they could afford and what we could afford to do. So we think we really have, and quite honestly, the thing that sold them, I think, at the end of the day, is we were telling them we were going to put up money. That we were not coming with our hat in our hand, that we were coming saying we were willing to commit money to this program, raise their consideration of our application. So what about this $25 million available next year? We think we can make a real dent in what's been estimated at a $250 million program, but here we're talking about at least the first 25 million underway.
Parish President.
And also by acquiring Lamar Dixon, I'm looking at St. Landry Road area that's unincorporated. You know, we could probably incorporate that into that plant in that area, and you know, have another start with some sewer. So again, we have to start somewhere. The problem area, what's going to happen is they're going to be more stringent with their requirements as to what you can deposit in our streams now. So, you know, where it was a 10, it's probably going to be a 5 now, and I think they're going to start, from what I understand, They're gonna first start with the Alligator Bayou area, and then they're gonna come down to next to New River, and they're gonna give like 2 years to get into compliance in those things. So basically what happens if you don't start looking toward the future and looking at putting in sewer and making the effort like we are doing, you know, your businesses won't be able to grow in those areas. Your parish will quit growing and you'll be stagnant because you won't be able to build anything because you won't be able to get permits from DQ to put in sewer systems. So, you know, we are working with them. They've been very good with us as far as communicating, and we feel like we've made some giant strides with sewer and parish-wide sewer. I'm proud to say that I think we're going to actually be in the beginning stages of a parish-wide sewer by the middle of next year. So that's, you can all be proud of yourselves for that, and because it's something that's been needed and something that we've all been working over the past 20 years to try and achieve, and I think we're going to be finally coming to fruition, at least with a start. So again, and I want to thank Mr. Grant. He's done an excellent job in following through with all this.
Yeah, and Tommy, we also want to thank all the efforts. I know y'all put a great deal of efforts in. We appreciate that. To follow up on what you said on Lamar Dixon, I think it's very important to get the word out to the businesses that are located there and the ones that are coming there, because right now, quite frankly, businesses are forced to ask for annexation into the city of Gonzales to get sewer services, and so the parish does not get those revenues. And so I think anything we can do, as Councilman Thompson has suggested, to expand that sewer plant there. I think relatively a small amount of money compared to what you would lose in revenue in the next 20 years would be to try to get identify the potential business areas and get some line laid in there, and let potential new businesses know that we're going to be putting some utilities down there for sewer. So I think that would help.
Councilman Johnson?
Have we heard anything on the stimulus package as far as with the core? What's the latest on that?
Councilman, as we continue to fight the appropriations process in Congress, no, we did not get awarded stimulus funds, but we got a surprise about 2 weeks ago and found that in the Senate appropriations bill, there's $1 million in it earmarked for Ascension for sewer improvements. So your trip to Washington worked out well. We are right now in the process of holding that appropriation in place in the federal appropriations bill, and it's in the core 219 funding where we need it. It's in the right place, and it's the right amount to help us move forward. So that's right now sitting there, working its way through the rest of the appropriations process. But it was put in on the Senate side and is currently holding in the bill.
Parish President Mornes?
We're going to be meeting with our congressional delegation in the next couple months when they have recess, and we're going to continue pursuing this. You know, I will say that our new consultant has done an excellent job, not only with this, but also with the DEQ money. He set up the meetings and was very, very aggressive, and has met with all the congressional delegation, and has done an excellent job in opening those doors. So again, things are looking good on the sewer front, and hopefully we can work something out with the water district where we can get in the water and sewer business at the same time, and that's what we've been needing to do, and you know, that's what's gonna be the future of this parish. So again,
President, have we looked at the idea of going and trying to figure out how a way to develop a sewer system in the northern end of the parish where the density at?
well, we're looking at that. There's several problems according to DQ in that area right now. But yes, I mean, we're gonna continue to push our delegation, both the state and federal delegation, to continue, helping us fund, and especially in that area, over the next, I mean, this is gonna be a work in progress that's gonna probably take anywhere from, 10 to 20 years to, complete, maybe even longer. But we gotta take baby steps because we just don't have the funding. And it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be that, it's not gonna be a cheap endeavor. You know, right now, a lot of those systems in the northern part of the parish are failing. They are only paying an X amount, like $24, $25, to really get the sewer project going and get something that will last for a long time and be something that's workable. You know, you're looking at anywhere from $45 to $60 a month. That's basically what's being paid in Baton Rouge and surrounding areas for sewer. So, you know, it's going to be hard to absorb that at this first step. But again, it's going to be a costly endeavor. And the northern part is certainly one of the top priorities. But as Kent said, we're going to certainly look at there's a lot of undeveloped area toward the river that if we can put the infrastructure in place, we can have those businesses ready and coming, and there'll be a showcase to bring in new businesses, and you know, we're driven by that. So anyway, I don't know if I answered your question. I know I went
Well, you
around
pretty much.
the horn with it, but it's something that we can talk about it. At one time, I even had spoken to the mayor of Baton Rouge about picking up, you know, across the bayou by Manchac and picking up some of those areas and helping us out in that. So that's something that we can also continue talks with, do a regional type basis. So.
Well, thank you. And the reason why I asked, because we got that regional plant in the Harryville area, and with Lamar Dixon, we could work those two systems and look at spending some money in the northern end of the parish. Any? Councilman Lambert, you got anything?
What are we on, new business or old business?
New business.
you.
Councilman Collins?
No, I just want to thank the parish president and secretary for working so hard on that. We appreciate it.
Councilman Shakespeare?
Yeah, I was just curious, Tom, what the big push by the Corps of Engineers to get involved and get us involved with them on this sewer project was that they said that they could get us the funding. And yet I've been here 5th year, and the
Let me just
lack
say
of funding is glaring.
that we lucky if we keep this $1 million in, we'll be lucky. You know, their funding's been cut quite a bit over the past few years, so you can't depend on that. Basically, we utilized that plan for the stimulus money, if we could have gotten it, because there was a plan in hand that was ready to go. But now we need to look at different options. Also, you know, the plan's good. We're going to continue with the plan, but that doesn't mean we have to utilize all of the.
What stopped the stimulus money from coming? Because it was
we applied. We were there. Just we just wasn't chosen.
okay.
Councilman Johnson?
No, sir.
Any more new business? Old business? Councilman, Matassa, City Councilman Matassa.
Councilman, gentlemen, Chairman Thompson had asked me to look into the Harryville project as far as how everybody was tied in. Basically, 98% of the people was tied in by the grant, and I think you only had 4 residents that lived there that did not qualify. So out of the 4, 2 have tied in, and there's two that we're trying to get them to tie in, but they have to pay their own plumbing costs. As of right now, we're waiting on Baton Rouge Water to do the billing, and as soon as we start the billing, they'll have to pay $500 to tie in. So we're going to try to notify them again that, you know, they need to get a plumber to tie in. If not, after they start billing, which is going to be shortly, hopefully, then they'll have to pay a tie-in fee. We did the same thing in Dara. After we started billing, it was cut off on the empty lots. When somebody comes in later and bills or puts a trailer, they have to pay a $500 tie-in fee. So that's the status of the Harryville project.
So, would you send out a letter to how many that's not tied in?
Two.
Just
Send out a letter to the 2 residents not tied in, that if they don't get tied into the system, they're gonna have to pay a $500 tie-in
Sure.
fee.
I'll do it. We
And
did
that's
notify
definitely
one
that.
gentleman, he's ready to do it, and the other one we hadn't heard from. Okay?
After we start collecting there, they'll have to pay the $500. And we need to send a letter to Baton Rouge Water or whoever to put it in place where we can start collecting those
I
sewers.
sent him that months ago, and then I gave him everything he wanted over 30 days ago, and right now, well, nobody's billing them. In fact, we want them to pick up the Dara also, which is White Castle Water billing right now. He hadn't picked any of that up yet.
Mr. Grant, who's picking up that, you have any suggestions, any other direction to go in?
Yes, I do, Councilman. I mean, the strategic plan for this is kind of direct. We need this utility district. We have worked, as you know, very closely with the small water utilities that currently exist within the district, trying to get their records to see if we can create a comprehensive ordinance to pull the trigger on this thing. I think there's certainly great interest on the council in doing that. I think once that was done, my personal suggestion as a near-term measure was to try and do a cooperative endeavor agreement with ACUD1 that has a collection system and use it in the utility district on the East Bank to collect. I mean, where you send the letter from is really not as important as to having the mechanism to actually do the collections. And so I think we can cooperate for a change and make something happen here and not be dependent on those who don't have our interests at heart. I mean, if we've now asked for months for someone to do collections and they haven't, we've got to find another way. And I think that's the way.
Well, would you,
I've
work
got
on
a
that,
proposal.
come back to this board?
Yes, sir. My next step is I have a proposal to present to ACUD1 for this cooperative endeavor agreement to facilitate the ability to collect. And I would hope that we will have the final documents from the Geisman district. That's the only thing that's stopping me from bringing this ordinance forward to you on the consolidated utility district on the East Bank, because I don't have all the documentation on the current districts. And once they provide me with the records of their obligations and debt, so that we can make sure that that's covered, we will bring forward the proposal for the consolidated utility district here on the East Bank in a method of collection associated with it.
That's what's holding us back, Cedric,
Yes, sir.
on the,
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We've been pursuing, and we've gone and visited with them. We've agreed to go into their records. There's certain documents we need to have in hand to know that once we abolish them, we don't take on any debt that they can't cover. That's what we're trying to do right now.
okay.
Parish President?
I think Ms. LeBlanc had sent a request to you from the airport authority about lighting.
That's,
Did you, and you and
that
Kent?
was,
Okay.
yeah,
I just want to remind y'all, that's all.
a request about lighting.
Adrian?
To take up the lights that's,
We-
airport lights.
We've made a request on 3 occasions, the airport, that the lights that go back to the airport, we've made a request for them to be taken into the parish because it's become a parish road. And they said they have, but Energy continues to bill the airport instead of building the lighting district. And we
Can we-
can't seem to get off of that. We've made numerous requests.
Send a resolution to energy, please.
to
I would-
energy.
I will make a motion now under old business, because this has been discussed, to send a letter to Energy. I guess is a third request on having them change the billing over from the airport to the lighting district for those lights on that road there.
Only roadside lights.
Yes.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Shake Snyder, second by Councilman Cullen, to send a letter to Energy requesting that they send the bill to Lighting District Number 6 for the airport lights. Any other old business? I see Mr.
Two of the, Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
two of them, please. The first, Mr. Matiza, who bought the Oquan system?
Well, there's a couple companies that just purchased. I don't think it was just one of them. I think it was might be diversified. I'm not totally sure which plant you're talking about.
There's several
Parish.
throughout the parish that it's the pond sites. They are not keeping them clean. The grass is overgrown in them. We need to get them to the table and clear up this.
Okay, is that the one on Perkins Road
Yeah.
you're talking about?
There's several throughout the parish that
Yeah, they even on one on the West Bank too. Well, when we get the complaints, we see the local office. They will work a complaint, but it all goes to the state engineer when it's over 3,000 gallons, which most all the subdivisions are over 3,000 gallon sewer. And that's Mr. Stephen Davis, and we sent everything to him, and he is the enforcement. So, but we have been getting a lot of complaints on that new company.
have we met with any of the representatives from this new company, or do we know?
No, sir.
I would like to get them at one of the utility meetings here, if
Okay,
all
we'll
possible.
invite them to the next meeting.
Right. The other thing, real quick, fellas, the backup generators for these, have we heard anything back for the subdivisions?
Public Service Commission said no one has actually put it in any requests from Ascension Parish. Now, I did talk to Mr. Pertry, which said that he was about 2 months away for, with his, you got to have all your I's dotted and your T's crossed before you go, or you just get it sent back. And Public Service Commission said they would come to the meeting to discuss it if y'all wanted, but at this time they had no requests waiting on the private systems. Okay, we are gearing up with, we have some generators that we're going to put on some trailers that came from OEP, has for, they put some in fact, they put one in that health unit building, president's office, and I don't know, several others. But we have some generators to keep our plants pumping that we own, the parish I'm talking about.
Okay. I know we've been lucky so far, but we need to, if we need to invite them, we need to get them on board also.
Well,
I would direct that to the parish president or Mr. Grant. We need to make contact with the Public Service Commission.
Is there some kind of legislation we need to pass to, Mr. Martinez, Parish President?
didn't y'all did pass all new subdivisions have to have generation on their sewer plants? I think y'all did that, didn't you? Couldn't do the old ones. I mean, you can't.
Well, we could see what we can do, because that's been the problem. I mean, the people are not going to be concerned whether they're new or old whenever their sewer's not working.
No, what I'm saying is
And
the old ones that are owned, privately owned, they have to increase their price to include the generation, and that's what we're waiting on. That's what Dempsey's talking about now. And I think y'all passed something on any new subdivisions have to have generation on their sewer plants.
That's correct.
So that's where we stand. And y'all want Public Service Commission at the meeting, just let me know. And
So is that, no?
I just think we need to do whatever we need to do to speed this process on, because, I mean, we're getting again in hurricane season, and I don't think people want to go through what they've been in the past. It's getting to be something where, you know, if we need to invite Public Service Commission, we need to find out what we need to do and speed this process up, because I know these processes can be speeded up. And
well, I don't know, but I can have them at the next meeting if y'all want.
well, I'll make a motion that we make a request to do that, if nothing else, to educate us on
The time
on what's
process and
being
all.
done and timeframes and what can be done.
I'll second that motion.
Repeat your motion.
To have Public Service Commission come in and
Discuss
speak
that.
with us and educate us on this process, and if there's something we can do to help speed this up, or just give us some direction.
Motion by Councilman Shakes and I to have the Public Service Commission come in and inform us what direction we should go in with these private sewer systems. Second by Councilman Benny Johnson. Any opposition to the motion? None. Motion passes. Question, President.
Well, we got
DEQ.
3 public service commissioners that represent Ascension. I think Mr. Scamata, who's just elected. We have Lambert Bostier Jr., and I think we have Jimmy Fields. I'm not sure.
So we'll send it to all 3 of them.
Should be able to get somebody.
Well, you see, they would send their representative that's in charge of that, I would think. Been talking to one, but if we have them here, we're gonna also talk about the company that Dempsey's talking about got the rate increase right when they bought it. And they didn't spend anything yet.
President
What company is that?
Martinez,
I'm not sure the name, I don't wanna say I'm not sure. the full
could
name.
we get DEQ involved? Because once they out of power and we lose this power and people cannot use their bathrooms or they don't have anywhere for their sewer to go, Parish might have to get involved and bring it and haul it off when residents start complaining to us, right?
Well,
Can't do it.
I think DEQ is well aware of the problem, and I'm sure that you'll see their presence here in the near future. But again, we really don't have jurisdiction over private sewer companies. Now, we can help if we have these generators. We can go out and help them out like we did in the past. So we'll have a little bit more capability to go out there, but it's not something that's a permanent fix. But again, we can work with DEQ. We can have DEQ come over too. They'd love to come to the meeting.
Well, what I'm saying is we get DEQ involved and they could regulate these private companies.
They're regulating them now.
Right.
So,
They regulate the discharge,
yeah.
and you're looking at about 200 discharges on this side of the river to deal with. And it's all private.
Councilman, yeah.
Kenny, I guess when you were talking about requests to the PSC, you're talking about for rate increases is what?
No, to discuss, like, what they were saying was, what's the process of these companies putting generators in their lift stations and plants, and how long all that takes. You can talk about that, and you can also talk about the
No.
rate increases.
What I'm talking about a while ago, you
Generators.
made the statement as far as PSC didn't have any requests in front of them as far as this stuff is concerned. Is that
For
for
the-
rate
for the
increases to cover the
generators.
cost of the generators?
Right, right.
Okay. I
That's
wanted
what
to
I'm
make sure that was clear because I
No,
wasn't
that-
quite sure of that.
Okay.
So, I mean, are we talking about permanent fixed generators? What are we looking at these folks doing? Or are we looking at like what several others around here doing? And I think we
Well-
talking about us having a generator on a trailer we can haul around and utilize this with.
Well, you see, the private ones do that, but they only have X amount. But like the motion y'all passed that the new plants have generation. Well, if you remember, y'all were one, but several parishes contacted them, and I heard Jimmy Fields say that he was all for that. Well, what a company got to do is get it you just can't ask for money. You got to have your total plan.
Right.
And this is what it costs. And they watch and see how much you're going to make and what it's going to cost to run and all that stuff. And I'm sure it's a pretty good sized plan to put together. Well, that plan hasn't gotten there yet. Mr. Pertry told me about a month ago it was about 2 months away for him to do it for his systems. Now, soon as he sends it, if it gets granted, he can start buying the generators. But how long that takes, I don't know.
Well, and that's a good reason for having them over here. I mean, any
Yeah.
encouragement we can do to help speed that process up. But I guess the other question is, if we're going to have equipment that we may provide or utilize to help these systems out during times of need, I mean, are we going to charge these people for doing that? Or are we going to make it to the point of where if they don't have a sewer system running for a period of time and they don't have it already hooked up, and we go out there and we're going to say we're going to go out there and do it for them? Are we going to charge them for that during that time? Or, I mean, what are we going to do to cover our costs and our liability on providing a service like that?
Well, we, under our plants, FEMA, we send bills to FEMA. I don't know what the private companies do. But we're going to be dealing with portable units with the 4 plus the jails 2 that we have. You know, we can assist these under a state of emergency. We can assist them. They all not going to be in trouble at one time, but I mean, under state of emergency, if y'all can remember, years ago, that's how we started helping Astroland out. That time we said, under state of emergency, you can help a private company.
I would think that would be an eligible expense with FEMA that we could borrow money back.
Okay.
All right, had a motion by Councilman Shakespeare, second by Councilman Johnson. No opposition to the motion. Motion passes. I see Mr. Osborne has made it here. We handle the business for ACUD 1 right now, please.
Thank you very much. Appreciate being here. Thank you, sir. As you know, all political subdivisions that are created by any other government, the created political subdivision has to get the consent of the creating authority before it can issue any bonds. And the ACUD number 1 has gone through a hearing process. It has made application to the Bond Commission for consent and authority to issue $1 million of revenue bonds. And I understand that Lynn's already made some comments on it about the attractive programs that are being offered through through DHH as a result of the stimulus package, the ARRA Act, and how the subsidized monies are available. So the district would like to take advantage of these programs where they have subsidized loans, and in order to do so, they need the approval of the Ascension Parish Council, and they'd like to receive that approval from you.
Councilman Johnson.
What is, as ACUD, what is the current, how much do they have out in bonds as far as their income? What is their percentage of that right now?
Well, let me give you some information that was prepared by consulting engineers, and it's a projection of the revenues and expenditures that's necessary in order to make applications made by a commissioner. I imagine DHH want to see it as well. As you see, this is a really combined schedule. It's a history of the revenues and expenditures of the district over the past several years, starting with 2002, and a projection of the expenses from now on out. Now, this is on 2 pages, but as you see, the columns are lettered, and of course, the pages can be laid alongside of each other because the second page continues on from the first. And as you can see, we have the revenues from user fees in column B, non-operating revenues, which is a pittance, just a little, the interest they earn on their various funds. I think it's probably underestimated, but it's not much money no matter what. The ad valorem taxes, they have an ad valorem tax that was voted for 20-year period, and you can see that it's there, and that has risen nicely over the years. The assessed valuation's been going up in the area of ACUD number 1. Column E is the total revenues, then the subtract out the bulk water purchases and the operation and maintenance costs, and therefore you have the net revenues that are available after paying operation expenses in column H. If you go to the second page, there's the loan to the Ascension Parish. Several years ago, Ascension Parish lent the district some money, and that's the repayment schedule. Then the original bond issue that the district did was a rural development bond issue, Farmers Home Administration, U.S. Department of Agriculture loan. And that requires, as you can see, $22,170 a year. Then there's the debt service on the bonds that were sold a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. Time marches by. 2 years ago, and it's about $320,000 a year. And then there's the estimated debt service on this loan that we are discussing right now, the Department of Health and Hospitals loan, DHH, and it's estimated that it would cost a little over $63,000 a year. So total debt service would be in column M. And then in column N is the projected surplus, and column O is the debt coverage ratio. It would be for a maximum of 22 years. The first 2 years for interest only, and the last 20 years would be equal principal and interest payments.
What did they have planned for the money? A water.
Is it, excuse me.
Yes, go ahead.
Is this, is the water tower moving ahead in, near, John Foss? Where was that in this, kind of a pretty simple question.
The Highway 70 tower would come from other funds.
At which point in time?
The attorneys are looking at those funds right now and are preparing a report back to the district on those funds. They have some funds in different bank accounts that are, some are obligated, some are not obligated, and they're determining which are not obligated that can be used on the water tower.
Mm-hmm. And what's the timetable for that?
They're supposed to have a report back by the next board
meeting. Well, not having a true schedule as to what is going to happen, I'd like to find out exactly what the time schedule on the different projects are.
This money was dedicated because well, there's the enhancement grant that Martha had reported to y'all last month. It's been awarded. DHH was specific for residential areas and non-commercial areas. And so that had to go to the Palo Alto Tower. This $1 million.
Excuse me a second. Stop in a minute.
Well, I'm just, I'm a bit in the dark on this, as to what's going on there. I would like a little time to find out, exactly what's happening and, where we're applying these funds are.
Well, I mean, we're telling you, $1 million goes to the Palo Alto Tower.
Well, and what I'm telling you, I'm just curious as to what the priorities are on that, because some of the tower at Highway 70 has been, let's just say, has been postponed for a period of time, and I just want to know the status of it and when it's going to actually, and what's the priority there?
Neither Mr. Osborne or I have those numbers for you tonight.
Okay.
Would we,
Is it essential, a time frame for we do this at this point in time right now? Martha, just a grant? Mr. Osborne?
Well, this is the, in order to get bond commission approval, we'll have to have the approval of the council. There are a whole bunch of different applications going into DHH for these funds because, you know, this is the ARRA Act, the Federal Stimulus Act only has a 2-year life. And they get monies in each year, I understand. And there's a competition for them, as you might expect. You know, a lot of governments like low interest money, and particularly since some of this loan might be forgiven, there's a big lineup. And for those governments that are prepared early, it's going to be to a large extent on a first come, first served basis. And if you don't, if you're prepared, you're going to be in line to get one of the grants. And if you're not, well, someone else will get the money. So we don't know when the exact cutoff is. We don't know what date you're too late because they haven't told us. DHH keeps their cards pretty close to their vest. But they have said that if you're not ready when the money's there and other people get finished, you get ready to receive their grant, they're going to get them, and then, you know,
And
that's where the money will go.
this request has to go with the full
Has to go
vote
for
of
the
the
full
council.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I would offer a motion that we, yes.
This item is also on the finance agenda Thursday night,
Yeah.
so if you want to discuss it, maybe they'll have some more answers for you.
Yeah, I would offer that we would send it forward pending, you know, so that we don't lose any time, pending fact-finding about exactly what's happening on this situation.
I'll second that. That's for finance?
Yes.
Okay.
Move it through finance?
Sure.
Motion by Councilman Shake Snyder, second by Councilman Collins, to move it forward to finance. And Mr. Osborne, if you don't mind, would you attend this finance meeting?
Is this day after tomorrow?
Yes,
What time will it be?
6 o'clock.
6 o'clock?
6 o'clock.
And in the future, would you guys send this paperwork to the administration where they'll be aware of what's going on, so this could go a little bit smoother?
Okay. You mean, be sure to copy the administration?
Right,
Send
before we
it to
come.
them to send to the council, or send them a
just
copy
the
when?
administration,
Just
let them
copy
know
them.
what's going on,
Be
so
delighted to.
this process could move a little bit
Sure.
smoother.
Absolutely.
It probably would've went a little smoother if President Martinez and Mr. Grant would have known about it.
Oh, well, I will certainly do that. I guess I've been away too long to know the procedure, but I'll certainly adhere to it in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
can we see if we get some representation from ACUD1 board to the meeting Thursday night
We
as
have
well?
a gentleman in the,
Okay.
Right.
Yes.
Any other business? Entertain motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Benny Johnson to adjourn.